And welcome everybody to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, episode 389. I'm joined by my friend Sean. Stu and the
Have me
Nunn
on again.
both have the night off, so you're stuck with us. So we've got a lot to get to. There is, as we always say on the show, there's never never not something to talk about. There's always something in the news. All you got to do is wait until right before the show, and there's always something popping off. So welcome, Sean. So
Hey,
how,
thanks for
how are
having me
things?
on again.
How are things in the very southern studio of Florida?
Things are great. Just getting married soon. Got 90 days out.
Awesome.
Invites in the mail for you, sir.
All right.
And did our dance lessons tonight, so that went well. A lot going on in the world. A lot going on in the world. We were just talking about Davos.
Right. Are you before we get to Davos, are you going to get any of this cold weather coming your way? I know we're going to get like anywhere.
It comes and goes. Yeah.
So they're predicting anywhere between 0 and 100 inches here in Arkansas. So they just don't know. So it changes almost every day. But we're probably going to get about 3 inches of snow.
It got as low here in Jacksonville, North Florida, around the Atlantic seaboard. It got as cold the other day as 36, which is pretty cold for Florida. It's pretty cold. Like that's like two layers. That's like 2 layers for us.
Yeah.
It's like 2 layers, and not counting the t-shirt, because you always got to have a t-shirt. You're in Florida, right? So t-shirt, 2 other layers. It was like 30, but now today it was like back at I think 70 in the afternoon.
So cold weather in Florida is you take off the flip flops and you put on shoes. I mean, is that cold weather in Florida? Is that what you got to do?
Yeah.
Do you have a jacket? Do you even own a jacket?
I own a jacket, but the last time that I used it was when I went to the inauguration last year. Like I don't. It just sits and collects dust. It takes a
starter jacket.
No. We had to when I went to the inauguration last year. We did some research beforehand. It was supposed to be like the coldest inauguration.
Yeah.
And since since Johnson got some 60 years. So my fiance, soon to be wife, went all out and bought all these nice, because we're going to these balls. So she bought all these nice jackets, all this stuff that sits and takes up. I shit you not, an entire closet in my house of jackets we don't use because we live in freaking Florida. So.
Yeah. Well, you'd use them here for sure, and I know Troy. He's no stranger to snow. He lives up in Buffalo, so they get snow all the time.
That's different. That's a different kind of cold.
That's the kind of cold I don't even want to deal with.
No, thank you.
So you mentioned Davos. So Davos happened this week, and I think Trump is already back from Davos. But
I think so. Yeah.
Davos is one of those, to me. And this is just kind of my imagination running wild. Davos is I always imagine it like a James Bond film, because it's all these evil people in the world just get around and talk about how they're going to change the world, right? Despite no input from anybody else, no input from the brilliant minds or whatever. It's only rich people, so you have to have the money to go to. You have to be a billionaire to go to Davos.
You don't think that that's how it goes as soon as the cameras leave the room? As soon as the cameras leave, I mean, there's some point that the cameras leave the room, and there's just a few people. Gavin's even in the room, even with the leaders. There's certain people who are just allowed to be in. I mean, this is just my fantasy of it. I'm sure there's certain people who are just allowed to be in the room, and that's exactly how it goes. And they have their lackeys around the room.
How does Gavin get? He's not a billionaire. What's his net worth?
How's he gotten to where he's at now? How's he gotten? Yeah. I mean, it's got to be the hair gel, right? So I guarantee you, there's these lackeys around the room that talks in everyone's ear, and then there's that one person in the back of the room. He's like the evil genius. He would be like the Karl Rove type who goes around whispering and playing little Games of Thrones games. I guarantee you that's how the shit goes. I guarantee it's exactly the Game of Thrones court.
Who was the guy that was the German speaker last year that dressed? I mean, he looked like a Bond villain.
I remember. I remember the incident.
On something. Yeah, he just looked and sounded like a Bond.
He decided to go out and just impress the cameras.
Yeah. But Davos happened. And I'm surprised because I don't think Trump. I think he didn't go to Davos like his first term. I think he skipped Davos when, he was obviously busy, but he went this year.
Didn't he send JD Vance?
No,
Year?
I mean his first term, I think he may have sent.
Oh no, first term.
Yeah. I don't know who he sent, but he just didn't go.
He didn't send
first
Pence.
term. Yeah,
So.
yeah, he just didn't go. But he went, and of course he called out, talking about Newsom. He called out Newsom, and even Scott Bessent. So so I've got what Scott said here. So Scott Bessent said, I was told he was asked to give a speech talking about Gavin Newsom on his signature policies, but he's not speaking because we have his economic policy. What have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in Palisades who had their homes burned down. That's and that was right to Gavin's face. Gavin was in the room when he said that.
He even let out a chuckle. I didn't see anything about that. That was funny. He was in the room.
Yeah, he's here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He's too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything. That is to his face. Now, I mean, we know how like politics goes, right? We know these guys. Cameras get turned off. They're probably Scott Bessent and him probably went in the corner and kissed or something. Who knows? Probably French kissed in the corner. But I mean, but to call.
Why am I picturing it?
I don't know. But to call him out to his face like that was pretty funny. So. We've all speculated. We know it's coming. We know Gavin Newsom's going to be the Democrat, or he's at least going to
run.
Whether he wins their primary or not, we'll see.
He's their Mitt Romney. No, I mean they're going to put him up. He's going to get his 47%, and then let me tell you the apex of Gavin Newsom's career, because I already know it. This is going to sound bad for a conservative to say, but I have faith. I have faith in the electorate. I firmly believe he's going to be the Democratic nominee. And when he's at the top of that ballot, I firmly believe it's going to be another Kamala. He's going to play real well. He is going to play real well with liberal white women between the ages of 25 and 50. He's going to play real well with that crowd. He's going to play real well with certain minority groups. He's going to play real well. He's going to have a blanket 45% of this country. I think he ends up with maybe, I don't think he gets 50%. And for a Democrat to not get 50%, that's a guaranteed loss.
Well, the Democrats have painted themselves in a corner, right? So they rail against the white male, the white rich males. And then who ends up at the top of their ticket?
White males, period.
Yeah, constantly. Right. So they, who else now? Will they throw a minority or person of color on as his VP? Will they go down that route and choose Stacey Abrams from Georgia, or will they choose? Will Kamala?
We can only hope.
Will Kamala come up again? Here's our experience. She's already been vice president before. She knows what to do. Which she did.
Maybe AOC.
She did absolutely fucking nothing, by the way.
Could you imagine AOC as a VP nominee?
Oh, absolutely, I can imagine.
Right. That's what's coming. Yeah. So I think that he will get up there and he'll lose. And the apex of his political career is it's not out of the realm of possibility for California to put him in the Senate. That is where I think his career ends. Yeah. That's where I think his political career will end. I would go as far as to bet my house on it. Right. I really don't believe that he would end up being president. There are Democrats who I do think would have a good shot, scary as it is.
Who's that?
He is not. Unfortunately, I think we're in a crazy situation where Shapiro has a much better shot than Gavin does. If I don't think he has a shot, but here's the thing. I don't think he'll get on their ticket. I don't think he'll get on their ticket.
No, they couldn't get him on the ticket the first time.
If they could get him on the ticket, I think if you held the election today, you would be surprised. And I'm not a fan of a lot of his policies, but I can tell you that that would be a Democrat who would play well, with the middle of the country, and even some on the moderate right, not the conservative base. No.
You know who I think could win,
Mhm.
but they simply won't give him the opportunity. And he had the opportunity before, and I
Mhm.
think that's Bernie Sanders.
Oh,
Bernie
oh,
Sanders
right.
plays very well to the public. He's seen as this crazy old man,
Mhm.
but the younger generation absolutely fucking
They
love.
love it.
So if you threw a Bernie Sanders with an AOC VP, that would be scary.
That's so I stopped short of that, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen because you look at Mamdani's success in New York, and New York's a special case. I mean, we could go back 250 years, and New York was the only state that abstained from not signing the Declaration of Independence. So, so they've been a odd duck for 250 years. Shouldn't surprise anyone that they finally are first major, like the city of that size to elect a communist. Shouldn't surprise anyone, right?
Well, I mean,
But
Seattle, wasn't it Seattle did the same thing? Didn't
Seattle
Seattle?
did. Seattle's not New York.
Right, yeah.
Seattle's not New York. Not even in the same discussion, right?
Right.
So I think that it, there's more of a danger of Bernie Sanders. Say, yeah, there's more of a danger. I still don't think. I think when push comes to shove, they have more of a shot than Gavin of getting on that ticket. Absolutely. I don't think they get elected. A Democrat who could actually win, and with the current state of that party, I think you're looking at a Shapiro type.
Yeah.
It
Well, I
has to
mean,
be someone who's not
if
as
Gavin if
insane.
Gavin were to, if he sticks to the party line, he would
Mhm.
almost have to nominate a person of color as the VP. It doesn't have to be Stacey Abrams,
Oh,
doesn't
right.
have to be AOC, but it has to be somebody. Now,
They're ideologically locked. Right.
yeah, yeah, because they painted themselves in that corner. It
Right.
could be Timo Obama, Jeffries. It could be, it could be, there's a number of other candidates they
Mhm.
could use, but they've painted themselves in that corner,
They
and
have. Absolutely.
I think I think that would be their downfall. That would be Gavin's downfall. But I think AOC and Bernie Sanders could very well
Mhm.
challenge, and
Mhm.
who I think we all think is going to be JD Vance. Now, who he chooses as a VP, I don't know. Uh, he could choose somebody like what's the guy out of Missouri. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
You don't
He
think
could
it'd be Rubio?
it could very well be Rubio. I mean,
Right.
Rubio would be a very, very strong ticket for conservatives.
That would be honestly Rubio would be my preferred top of the ticket. He's my preference,
Yeah.
but I think it's JD Vance's.
Yeah,
So
I think if you did JD Vance with Rubio as the VP, and then after JD Vance is out, you run Rubio with the next person, that lines you up for the next several years,
it does line you up, but
which is
it's
something
hard to
Republicans have had a hard time doing, right?
right.
Trump came out of nowhere. Romney
Mhm.
was never a serious candidate.
No,
McCain was never a serious candidate.
no,
None of those were.
right.
So, uh, yeah. So I just don't think. I I would hope that Gavin Newsom doesn't, because he's no, he just can't. He's destroyed that. This is a great segue to our
It's a
next
beautiful
topic.
state too. It's a beautiful
It's a,
state.
it's a gorgeous state.
It's gorgeous.
But
I grew up there. It's a
yeah,
gorgeous place.
this is a good
So
segue into the next topic I want to talk about, and that is the corruption that is now being shown across the country. It
mhm,
started with Minnesota,
mhm,
right? And we
mhm,
saw the childcare frauds. But I just
mhm.
watched a video today in Texas where a gentleman went to a guy's house who was a business owner and had signed for 12 HB1 visas. And he approached the
Right.
guy, and the
Saw
guy
that.
immediately called the cops on him.
I'm
And now
being threatened. I'm
he
being
did, he
harassed.
did.
Right.
And the guy was recording everything. And he did tell him, well, this is, originally he said, he didn't say anything. And then he said, well, this is not my place of business. It's so-and-so place.
Mhm.
So, but what was registered was this guy's house. And it was a very nice house on video,
Mhm.
by the way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, very upscale.
the guy went to the place of quote unquote business, and it was
Mhm.
typical, just like the child care places,
Mhm.
where you had the cover over the window, but they were
Mhm.
able to see in, and there was a card table with a chair, and it was a
2
room.
folding tables,
Yeah,
no computers,
yes,
not
nothing.
even a phone. 2
Yeah.
folding tables, 1 chair, no screens of any type.
And the guy had 12 HB1 visas he had sponsored. So this fraud, not just Minnesota, it's in Texas, it's in Ohio, it's in California. I mean, Gavin Newsom alone has depleted something like $60 billion from the budget of California. He
Mhm.
had a surplus of like
Mhm.
60 to
Mhm.
70
He
billion
did.
dollars, and they're now in debt. I mean, they have a light rail that hasn't laid a single piece of track in 8 years of its project. They have homeless that they spent $1 billion on that has gotten worse. They have uh, apps to track feces on the street. They have, the gas taxes through the roof. I mean, the spending in California it's an unlivable state. I don't know how anybody stays there.
And people are finding out these things now because they're actually looking. They're
Yes.
actually looking. People
Yeah.
are actually looking now. And should it surprise anyone with the way California has been run, basically, basically since the 70s, but most importantly since around 2010 forward, does this really surprise
Yeah.
anyone? I mean, it is a shame for a place with the abundance of just aesthetic quality, natural resources, infrastructure that, while dated and can be improved, they have so many inherent advantages. And you're going to chase out
Yeah.
of the state with your tax policy the best producing people of the state. In the state, you're going to chase these people out. And what are you left with in the end? In the end, you're left with people who grift, people who don't produce, and people who look around and say, well, what's in it for me?
Right.
And then shit doesn't get done. That's
Well,
how
the
shit
fraud,
burns down, and everyone's staring at each other while it burns.
right. Even beyond, and California is probably one of the biggest purveyors of this. Even beyond the financial fraud, there
Mhm.
is the allowance of immigrants or illegal immigrants in the country simply so they can get more seats in Washington. And
Mhm.
this has been going on for a while. They realized that under Obama, when they removed the question on the census for are you a citizen or not, they removed it because they didn't
Is that
care.
when they
Yes,
removed
it
it
was
under
under
Obama? Okay.
Obama. Yeah.
Okay.
And they did so
Makes
because,
sense.
and I mean, as most people know, if you count everybody and you have more people, you get more
Those are your
representatives in Washington.
representatives in
Yes, yes.
Congress.
And so blue states have been doing this for a while. And here's the thing that nobody talks about that. They do so at the detriment of their own citizens because they don't care who they're letting in. They want the numbers, period. They'll let in gang members. They'll let in rapists. They'll let in pedophiles. They'll let in murderers. They don't give a shit as long as they have the numbers. And that is to the detriment of the US citizens. And people should wake up and realize, hey, wait a minute here. What are you doing to vet these people that you're letting in? You're just letting all these
Mhm.
people in and doing no vetting process whatsoever. And then and now what we're seeing is under Trump, that pendulum has swung completely the other way. And now we have ICE going, state by state by state and kicking people out, which is, if you're here legally, if you didn't come in the right way, if you've committed crimes, I don't care if your crime was DUI, I don't care if your crime was, jaywalking, you should be the utmost citizen if you're, allowed to come in here, or else you
Absolutely.
should go back to your country. And you damn sure shouldn't be screaming in the fucking streets that how much you hate this country and you want this country to be Mexico. Why are you not in Mexico? Why are you not in the country that you're screaming for? Why are you here screaming for that country when you could simply be in your own country and scream for it there? That is the one that's always just, you come here and you want this to be where you just left.
It makes no sense.
No, it
It
doesn't.
makes no sense. And back to ICE going state by state, if you look at the numbers of how many people were deported under George W. Bush, both administrations, under how many people were deported under Obama,
3 million.
right? And you can go back to Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
How much pushback?
None.
And I get that the optics of ICE doing it the way that they're doing it is a little bit different. But let's go back. What choices did the previous administration and the Democrat Party leave to President Trump? What choices did they leave him? They fight him every step of the way. It could be as simple as this is enforcement. This is enforcement, and we're trying to get rid of these folks. If it was executed by, we're just targeting criminals, which there's a lot. There's over 1 million that they estimate have criminal backgrounds, either coming in or criminal infractions since arriving. And that's not including crossing illegally, right?
Yeah.
So they could make that alone, if they got no pushback, would take a couple of years just to complete. And look at the amount of pushback they're getting now.
Well, and there's I'll probably get pushback on this, but ICE is being a little heavy-handed in places.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the good shooting, right? So the gentleman who did the ICE agent who did the shooting of the lady, her last name is Good, right? He had previously
Renee Good, right?
Renee Good. So he had previously been drugged by a vehicle, and had recovered from that and was back on the street. And then she tries to run him over with the vehicle. So he's already in a position where he's like, on his toes. And, I've talked about this, countless times. Police and ICE, they don't show up when people call and say, hey, my dog just had puppies. Come look. Right.
Right.
They're showing up to places. They're showing up to pick up murderers. They're showing up to pick
It's
up
high stress.
Yes, it's high stress. Now people say, well, they shouldn't do the job. Well, you're not stepping up to do the goddamn job. How about you step up and do it? And then let's see how you fare on it. But I think, ICE, the mistakes are going to get made, right? Because even if you took ICE out of the picture, on a daily basis, we have people arrested in this country wrongfully. We have people accused wrongfully, right? Whether it's someone accusing them of something or whether it's stupid red flag laws when there shouldn't have been. That happens on a regular basis. We have a process in place to account for when mistakes are made. Let these ICE agents do their jobs. Get the fuck out of the way. Let them do their jobs. And if mistakes are made, we follow the process to remediate those mistakes. That's the way it's supposed to work.
I go back to, and I kind of feel, I'm not sure if we feel exactly the same way on this, but I'll probably get pushback on this too, because I do feel there's a statement, I believe there's a saying, and I believe it was said by Benjamin Franklin that he would rather, 100 guilty people go free than one innocent person be convicted. I don't know how it goes. And perhaps he didn't even say it, but it was around that era, and that's what the gist of it was. Okay. And in my heart of hearts, I believe that. I believe that. I do believe that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't like the idea of American citizens being stopped and No, no one likes that. But I'm also a rational person. I like to believe that I'm not heartless,
Hmm.
but I'll sit down and I think about the situation that we are in. If people really just put the politics aside and think about the types of people
Right.
that when you have a drug cartel, not even gang, Trinidad Aragua, not, I mean, really something that's attached to a drug cartel, take over an apartment complex in an American city.
Yeah.
Just stop. Stop with the left, stop with the right. Think about that. That should be scary as fuck to
Yeah.
somebody.
Well,
That,
what people
that by
don't
itself should justify not heavy handed, but
right.
there would be less mistakes if you just back out, let them do their job.
Yeah. Well,
It's bad
people,
enough. It's a stressful job. Like you said, it's bad
yeah.
enough that
Well,
they're
people
sitting
see
there.
immigration, right? They see immigration enforcement, right? And they immediately go, well, they can't be arresting American citizens. Bullshit. If you're an
Right,
American citizen and you're trafficking people across the border, guess what? ICE has jurisdiction over you.
right,
You go to jail. If you're trafficking drugs across the border, guess what?
right,
ICE has jurisdiction and you go to jail. So
right.
this fallacy that ICE can't arrest American citizens is bullshit
No,
because
no,
they
they
need
could
to
arrest American
understand
citizens. Yeah.
that if you're committing crimes that are immigration related drugs or trafficking, you can get arrested. And if
Well,
they would,
what? Right.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. Well, what I was referring to is there have been a few isolated incidents of people being picked up who were
Yeah,
American citizens.
yeah,
Now, my understanding of the incidents, they went along the lines of the typical liberal show me your ID, please. I'm not going to show you my ID. I'm a
yeah,
sovereign citizen.
yeah,
That's, I still don't like, I understand why those people get arrested. I still
yeah.
don't like the idea of American citizens being arrested who didn't do anything.
Right.
But I do under but those to my understanding, those are the ICE arrests that the
Yeah.
left are complaining about.
Well, there's also like there's one in the news right now, and it's about this old guy that they brought him out in his underwear in the snow. Well, the
Right.
two individuals living in his house, one was a pedophile and one was a rapist,
Right.
living in his house. And so
And he wasn't cooperating. He
and
was
he was
not
not
cooperating. He
cooperating,
was not
not at all.
cooperating.
Yeah.
But
And
that is
so
a crime in and of itself. It's a crime.
yeah, yeah. And people, the media and, of course, AI is out there as well. And there's all kinds of fake shit. So again, I say there's a process and people need to give the process time to work. And if there's
Right.
people arrested illegally, do it. Now, what I do fear is some of this, if Democrats do take the House or Senate, then you're going to see a lot of these ICE agents get charged. You're going to see a lot of this come back on them. Now, I don't know what Trump can do. Maybe he does, open-ended pardons like Biden did. I don't
I
know.
think that, yeah, I thought about this. I think pardons. I hope not.
Yeah,
Not that I don't want. Not that I don't think. I don't think that they've done anything. I don't think that what's going on is. I think that they're doing their job. I think that
well,
they're doing.
I
It's
think
not a
if they
pleasant job. It's not a
no,
pleasant job. Not pleasant to watch.
yeah,
Not pleasant to look at. And no American, not you, not me. No one likes to watch
yeah.
it. No one likes
Well,
to.
I can guarantee anybody who's in that position would rather a civil lawsuit and them get paid. That's what they will go right
Yeah,
after the money, no matter
yeah.
what. They'll take the several $1 million, and they would prefer that
Right,
than somebody going to jail because
right.
if somebody goes to jail,
Oh
they're not
yeah.
getting anything.
I mean,
So
I can tell you, if I was an ICE agent, I would not want a pardon because acceptance of a pardon is an
kind of
admission of guilt.
admits, yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not getting. If I was an ICE agent, I'm doing my job.
right.
I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to shoot anyone who's not committing a crime. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to take. If I'm an ICE agent, I'm there to do a job. And
Well,
it's not a pleasant job.
speaking of their jobs, so the House passed a new DHS bill, and 7 Democrats sided with the Republicans and signed that bill today, which was very surprising
Yeah,
because
it
the
was.
Democrat leadership did not want that to go forward. And 7 Democrats, and I would almost bet, and you and I talked about this before, I would almost bet that those 7 are up for reelection
Swing
or
states.
are in swing states. So
I'm wondering, do we have a list of who they are? Because I'm
I
wondering
have
if it's
not.
border states or I'm willing to bet New Mexico, top of my head, New Mexico, Texas.
Voted for, let's see.
Yeah, just curious.
Let's see. These Democrats, the Hill has it.
Border states.
Yeah.
I'd be real surprised if it was someone up north.
Right. So Henry Cuellar, Texas.
Texas. Yep.
Jared Golden, Maine.
Okay. All right. Surprising.
Yeah. Marie
She must be the
Glassenkamp, Washington. Laura
Okay.
Gillen, New York. Don Davis, North Carolina. Tom Suzy, New York. And Vincent Gonzalez with Texas.
But Texas, I understand. North Carolina's a swing state, and the others must be in districts that are.
Yeah, they're up for re-election or something. Right. Yeah.
Purple. Okay. All right. Makes sense. So
I'm voting for Democrat. I'm voting for Department of Homeland Security appropriation bill not to expand ICE enforcement or add more agents, but to fund the core operations Americans rely on every day. So that's the thing, and that's one
that's their out. That's their out statement.
I've argued about this for a long time. I hate bundled bills. I want single line item bills. When you vote for that,
item veto. Line item veto.
Well, just single. Like, let's vote on. Instead of throwing a whole bunch of money in a pot and say this is our foreign spending. No, let's vote per country. Let's vote, because I want to see how the representatives vote when you say we're going to give $6 billion to Israel. Let's watch how the Illhand Omars and the squad vote no on that. Let their people see in their districts. And then when you say, okay, now we're going to give X amount to, I don't know, Bolivia or whomever else we give it to, vote per country, single line item bills, so that we can see exactly where our representatives vote. I don't want to see these bundled bills that have all this other bullshit baked into it that gives them an out to say, well, I voted for it because this was in there. No. I don't want to see that. Out. Yeah. Stop giving these guys outs.
So I've heard explanations that they try to make why they bundled the bills, because they only have so much time. Like, no. No, seriously, the job is not that hard. You vote in committee. Yeah. You could augment the staff, have more bills drafted up, and just go through them one by one. Come on, this isn't that hard. Okay. Yeah. No.
Get off the goddamn campaign trail and get your ass in Washington and vote.
Right. I mean, a country was founded and they did bill after bill after bill. Yeah. That was when they wrote with parchment by candlelight with feathers. Yeah. So, please.
Spare us your pity.
But, it does give me some encouragement for the hope of humanity that 7 Democrats did cross the aisle, whatever their motives were. I don't think it's altruism, but you never know. So,
well, let's see what comes of that, right? They're just the attention span of the average American citizen is about 2 seconds.
I mean, it's a fraction of who even gets involved. Like, we are the type of Republicans that get involved in midterm.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have to go out and campaign, help local candidates campaign, but most Americans, they'll watch, some watch the news, some will watch, a lot will watch podcasts. They'll get their TikTok, they'll get their YouTube, they'll get their snippets, but they don't really get involved in midterm politics at all. Right. Most don't vote. And then really a tiny fraction, if you look at the percentage of people who actually vote in midterms, it's really low. It's really, really low. We vote in midterms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't.
Let's see what this does to kind of energize. We one of the things that just happened amongst everything else that's going on was the protesters going into that church. Now, they wouldn't have dared done that to a mosque. They wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have done that to, any other. But they went into that church, and their complaint was that the pastor was also a representative for ICE. I don't care. That's church. You don't. I mean, that you don't go into that. You don't go into that. You can protest outside all day, all day. Don't go into that church. You shouldn't have.
So I knew this was going to come up, and you know how I feel about this personally. You know how strongly I feel as a Christian man, and very, very. This hits home. I would never go into, and I feel very strongly about my political beliefs, but I wouldn't go into a mosque or synagogue. And neither would these
temple,
or whatever Scientology calls their place. I wouldn't even go in there.
Hollywood.
I wouldn't mess with the e-meters, right?
You completely missed my joke.
No, so no, I didn't. I just this I feel very strongly about this. This was a step too far.
Yeah.
This is a step too far. There are laws against this. I know that Don Lemon, they arrested two of the organizers today when they went to get the arrest warrant for Don Lemon. The magistrate, which we know a magistrate is basically a contract employee of another judge. In this case, a federal judge, had a magistrate, and the local magistrate, this is obviously political in some way, did not sign off on the arrest warrant. That's not the end of this. This isn't like Letitia James and James Comey. They are going to re-pursue. If Pam Bondi does not re-pursue arresting DonLemon for what he did.
What was the reasoning? I mean, did he First Amendment as media? What was the reason?
Why the magistrate wouldn't sign off on? I believe it was First Amendment, but when you look at, there's video of Don Lemon in the car with the lead organizers and his film crew heading up to the church, and he was aware of where he was going. He was aware of what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were openly talking about, we're going there because these are white Christians. We're going to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was
basically to put it another way, for if Don Lemon if he were interviewing somebody who said, we're going to go rob this bank, and he followed them to the bank. They said it prior, and he was recording them, and they set it on camera and in front of him, and he followed them, and they robbed the bank. He would be charged with accessory because he knew they were going to commit a crime and knew it was happening.
That's a local charge. That'll never happen. We know because it's Minnesota.
Sure.
But what they have him is the FACE Act and the Klan Act.
Right.
The FACE Act is a misdemeanor, and that basically, from my understanding, there are places that are off limits for that type of activity. Church is one of them.
Right.
And that's one of them. You don't go into church and do that. That's one of them. Any type of place of worship. It's not just Christian. That's any type that's off limits, right?
Well, it could have been trespassing at a minimum.
Now, what makes it part of the Klan Act of, I believe, 1870 is when you bring race into the equation,
right?
Which was brought into the equation by the organizers, brought into the equation by Don Lemon, and Don Lemon got on film. He got on film beforehand, and then the idiot of idiots went on a podcast. You've seen the podcast,
yeah,
and admitted to it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I'm like, do you have that little self-awareness that you just admitted to the very crime that they're going to? This is going to be an example.
Yeah.
And if Pam Bondi, I mean, she failed on the Epstein files
miserably. Miserably.
She failed on Comey. She failed on James. She's failed on pretty much anything to do with the Russia collusion. I mean, I'm of the Pam Bondi needs to step down court.
Yeah.
She better not fucking fail on this one.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to get this right. At least tell us that a church for Christian worship can remain that.
Well, and Scott Jennings on CNN brought up a good point. Let's not forget that it was just a couple of months ago, someone shot up a Catholic church, and, shot I think it was one of the ministers, and children were injured, and that was not too long ago. So so for these people that were attending that church to be afraid was justified when it had just happened 2 months ago, where a church was shut up.
Right.
Yeah. So
that is their time with their God.
Yeah.
They're not hurting anyone. I don't care that there's someone inside that church that they disagree with. I don't care that it's one of the pastors or the pastor.
Go to his office. Go to his office and protest.
Go to his place of business. If the church is his place of business, go to his home.
Yeah.
But there was no reason to go harass a bunch of people that are praying.
Yeah.
And I understand as a Christian, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek. I understand that. I worry that as a republic, we're heading down a path where you almost wonder
if nobody is charged, right, or charges don't stick, it will happen again. Now, it'll happen again.
Someone's not going to turn the other cheek.
You remember a couple of years ago when a guy tried to shoot up a Texas church, and the guy, he was probably a good
that's the wrong place to go try to shoot the church.
40 feet away, and the guy took him down. That was a really good shot by that guy. And if you come into one in Texas or one of these other places, it's not going to end well.
These people, my hat is off to every parishioner in that church. That it was. I'm sure the cameras there play some role in. Oh, sorry. But the cameras there play some role in them being at SCOM. Maybe not, but I was impressed because Rob, I can't tell you that I would exercise such restraint, and perhaps that's a moral failing on my part, and I'm aware of it. But had that been me,
well, I
don't know how I would have reacted.
I wouldn't be surprised if in Minnesota, as long as you're permitted, right, you can carry a weapon in church, and that's the way most states are, right. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more heightened security in a lot of these places. So you're going to see it. So because anytime anything like that happens, people get emboldened, right? And they copycat, and then it's not going to end well. Then they're going to be screaming, all of a sudden, well, now it's the gun, right? Now we need stricter gun laws. We can't have guns in church. Well, no, you shouldn't be going to churches and protesting.
I can't stress the importance of this, and I hope Pam Bondi takes it seriously. I can't stress the importance, because if this is allowed to stand, the nature of the left right now, this is going to spread. Yeah. And like you said, Rob, if this spreads to somewhere like Texas, Florida, Alabama, somewhere where this is a Bible Belt where this does not play well.
Yeah.
It's no. This needs to stop now.
Yeah.
now. So yeah, make an example of Don Lemon. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
This magistrate didn't sign off. I guarantee you what this came down to. I think Don Lemon is acutely aware that maybe not that his goose is cooked, but they're going to bring the charges.
Well,
One way or
it's
the other.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing
he's
how
acutely aware.
quickly the nobody is above the law crowd
Right.
allows people to violate the law.
Right. Well, I think he's acutely aware. He's not going to be able to avoid being charged. I think what happened today was about avoidance of the perp walk.
Right. Yeah.
That's what that was.
We'll
So
see.
We'll see.
So let's talk about Greenland and NATO in general. And so I think you were in NATO for a little while. I was in NATO for 3 years.
Right.
So I know a little bit about the structure of NATO, but and the United States has had an interest in Greenland for hundreds of years, right? Greenland's a very important place. There's very few countries that have direct access to that Arctic region. Canada, United States, the UK, Denmark, those people have direct access that are friendly countries to the US, right? Now, Russia does have access, and China has indirect access to it.
Right.
So controlling that area is an important area to control. Who knows what resources are up there? I don't know if any of this is about resources. I mean, everything for the last 100 years been about resources, right?
It's supposed to be rare earth minerals. There's accusations of that floating around.
So Trump and I'll use this word kind of loosely, but in Trump's normal rhetoric, we're going to buy Greenland, he got NATO to come to the table, and they have at least the outline for an agreement going forward. Now, we don't know what that is, but we did have the head of NATO praising Trump, and I'm going to play that video real quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
With you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense. And here's my question to the audience. I mean, many of you, I know, criticize Donald Trump. But do you really think that without Donald Trump, 8 big economies in Europe, including Spain and Italy and Belgium, Canada, by the way, also outside Europe, would have come to 2% in 2025 when they were only on 1.5% at the beginning of the year? No way. Without Donald Trump, this would never have happened. They're all on 2% now. Do you really think that in the summit in The Hague, as already Alex was saying, the president of Finland was saying, that we would come to an overall defense spending of 5%, including 3.5% in core defense, if President Trump would not have been re-elected as president of the United States? No way. It would never have happened. So again, I'm not popular with you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense.
So, this, and I've said this all along. His entire goal was to get the NATO countries and to get those involved to step up, not only financially, but militarily to protect that area, right? We saw this fake show of force where I think they sent 30, the NATO countries sent 37 people, right?
And then they did a dance montage. Did you see the dance montage?
I didn't see the dance montage, but they sent 37 people. But now one of the things that they are going to propose is this kind of, I guess, Israel has what's called what do they call it?
Golden Dome.
Iron Dome. So
Iron Dome. Ours is the Golden Dome.
Yeah, what they're going to do for Greenland is they're going to put in a kind of golden dome over that as part of it. So, are we going to have to up our spending? I don't know. I mean, the United States already spends $980 billion in NATO, just NATO. Think about that.
Yeah.
$20 billion more, and the United States would be putting $1 trillion into NATO.
Yeah.
The next closest country spends $93.7 billion. We're spending $980. They're spending 93.
Mhm.
That's the next closest country. So why should the United States be forced, to pay all of this money and get nothing out of it in return?
So this goes back to, we were talking about this earlier, World War II, right? World War II ends and we upped our industrial capacity to a point that we left World War II in a healthier financial place than we were going in. Because going in, we were sputtering out of the Great Depression still.
Right.
We were coming out of it, but still sputtering. And then we upped our domestic production capacity to meet the demand we mobilized as a society. And Europe is where all the fighting was taking place. So it was harder for them to do it. There, most of those countries had collapsed economies. So when we formed NATO and the UN, we took on these roles and responsibilities and agreements where we'll let you tariff us to help build your economy back. We will take some of the lion's share of NATO while you build your economies back. And then that got baked in over decades and decades. And then this, then Eisenhower, that's fine. That was still the time frame. Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, it just sits and sits and sits. Oh, we got the Russians, we got the Soviets, and the Soviet threat was gone. So what's the need to have a massive NATO still? But we got this and that. We got Bosnia, Croatia. Let's keep it around. Let's keep it what it is. And we just kept paying. And I understand that there are people who are like, well, we're not supposed to do it because there's something in it for us. And well, we aren't doing it because there's something in it for us. We don't want Greenland because there's something in it for us. There is an understanding when we formed NATO that it would be for the collective defense. And these other major 8 countries that make up NATO, all these other small ones, I'm not even going to talk about, but the major 8 besides us, right? The major 8, they've done practically nothing to defend Greenland.
Sure.
Nothing. We are the defense for Greenland. So it would make sense that we either administrate it or have a standing base there of note, not a little tiny one, a standing base of note that we basically become the defense for the island. I think that's what it's going to end up as, a joint task force that's permanently there.
Well, think about, post World War II, NATO's formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was primarily at the time, it was, the United States, it was Canada, the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 32 members in NATO now.
Right.
Why is the United States paying $980 billion to NATO when there's 32 members?
And they're not even coming close.
Not even close.
Half of that amount, maybe? No, not even half.
The highest GDP is Poland at 4.7%.
Right, and then Germany should be
and who knows what their GDP is, right? But I mean, and then the highest dollar amount is the United States by $980 billion. Why are we spending that much?
If we pull out of NATO, it collapses, and then each one of those countries is going to be independent. I think NATO would completely collapse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Doug, I agree. It is weird that Russia and China haven't moved into Greenland a long time ago. That may have made that may have brought this conversation to the table under another administration. I think part of this not wanting Trump to have Greenland, and this is all these petty backroom politics. If he got Greenland in 100 years, after we're gone, after all this is in some weird history book, even the partisan politics will probably be shifted some other way. All he will be remembered. He'll be remembered for a few things, but really as someone who increased the size of the country. No one, and that's really, I think it comes down to some base pettiness of no one wants to give him that feather, because that's something that, I mean, that's what Monroe was the remembered for.
Well, Russia's
That's-
bogged down with the Ukraine, so I mean they're not in any kind of place to take Greenland right now, right? So
No.
they're bogged down with Ukraine and have been
No.
for a while. China, on the other hand, China's they still got some some places in their own region that they're fighting with, building islands out of nowhere in the middle of the middle
It's
of
a
the
launching
ocean.
pad.
Yeah.
It's a launching pad. Is
Yeah.
what Greenland is.
Well, it's a gateway directly to the United States, is what it
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the United States used Greenland to help support, the World War II. That was a great stopping point, right?
Mhm.
I'm surprised we only have the one Air Force base
Right.
there, or it's actually
And it's
a
small.
Space Force. It's a Space Force base.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's very small.
Well, it's colder than shit.
It's
No,
crazy.
nobody wants to be there. You
It's
can't.
crazy.
You
Most
can't
of
get
the place
in.
is not livable. Most of the place is not livable. So
Yeah,
I think
you
it's like
can't-
what 67% of it's not livable or something like that.
That's where you send it. That's where you send the Space Force person that pissed you off, and you just kind of shove them off to another command. And
Here's
you
your
send 'em
3-year
off-
deployment.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, you
Here's
get that
your-
overseas ribbon out of Greenland. So
Your NCOERs came back.
Yeah.
And, you know what? You suck.
yeah. Well, so before we close out, we got to talk about something non-politics, and that is Indiana's first ever
I wasn't a
National-
believer at first.
national college. You and I had talked, before they
Extensively,
even got
yeah.
to, we
Mhm,
talked about them
yeah.
over, Oregon. So they beat
Mhm.
Oregon twice this year.
They did.
Yeah.
First was closer than the second, but yeah, the second
Sure.
time they drubbed them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I mean, there was some good games, and you and I have talked about outside of the show about how the college transfer portal has
Mhm.
played into that, right?
right. Oh
You know,
yeah.
But people keep forgetting. They keep looking at Indiana because they won, right? And they go, "Oh, well, they did it because of the transfer portal." How many times did Carson Beck transfer?
Once.
No, nobody's
Once.
no. Yeah, but the
Once.
guy graduated 2 years ago, so
He
nobody
did.
talks about
He did.
what other teams are
Yeah.
doing. They want to
Right.
blame Indiana for
No,
doing
it's
this
not
in the
blaming
transfer portal
Indiana.
when everybody is doing it.
So there's a large swath of college football, and even me talking to me, especially because I'm a Florida State guy, so my team's on hard times currently because they've had a hard time adjusting to the transfer. Some teams have had a hard time adjusting to the portal and the NIL. So there's a large swath of college football fans that still, even if their team wasn't or major college football fans, even if their team wasn't in the conversation year in and year out, they have an affinity for the nostalgia of Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Florida State, USC, just the major brands, major names. Maybe every now and then the TCU will sneak in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the portal and NIL, it's not perfect, and we've talked about this.
No,
That shit
not at
is
all.
not perfect. In fact, I think that the players are abusing abusing both the portal and the NIL, and especially when they're signing these NIL contracts.
Mhm.
See, the last word I just used, contracts. Those are contracts. You
Yeah.
sign a contract and you jump in that portal, dude, it's a contract.
Yeah.
It's a contract. So I think the slippery slope that we've talked about, I think where they're really heading down is either unionizing as college football players,
Right,
either
right.
I mean, because now we have contracts. Now we have contracts, and what do we have? We have Duke going to sue. So I mean to shift the topic on you, but it's
Right.
related, right? So that's why Indiana was able to do this. Because they brought in a guy who's won at every level he's been at.
Yeah.
He's a shrewd coach. He was the recruiting coordinator. He was the head of recruiting for Nick Saban.
Right.
When Saban first got to Alabama, he was Saban's head of recruiting from 2007. Signetti was Saban's head of recruiting 2007, 2010. So he
Right.
helped Saban design that machine from 2007 to 2024, where he spit off 6 national championships. And while Signetti,
But here's the thing.
yeah. So,
But here's the thing.
Good.
It's not like Indiana was the only one that was allowed to do it. Alabama
No,
was still allowed to do it. Ohio State was still allowed to do it. Oregon was allowed to do it. Texas was allowed to do it. They were all
but
allowed to do
but
exactly what Indiana did.
I put some thought into this, but look at who Signetti was. He was
Sure.
never an OC, never a DC. He was always a position coach. But the one position he had under Saban, he was the head of recruiting.
Right.
And I think he took that skill, and that gave him a very unique skill set in the era of the NIL and the portal, where you got to evaluate players quick and you got to entice them to come in. And he's been very good at using the media.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he talks to his fucking boosters all day long. Like, give him this money. I want this dude here.
Well, he's also obviously very good at putting together a team. So not
Very
just on
good.
the players,
Yeah,
but
good.
in the coaching staff as well, because that entire team performed. I mean, especially so
Top
they
to bottom,
beat
solid.
six. They beat 6 top teams this year alone. They haven't beat 6 top
And
teams.
for
in
the
their
decisively.
Yeah, they haven't beat 6 top teams in their entire existence.
Yes. They have not beat 6 top 10 teams in their existence. So let's bake on that for a minute.
Yeah.
They did it in a
But
season.
again, so people, I hate that people, well, they were only allowed to do this because of the portal. Yeah, they're supposed to level the playing
but
field.
he adapted.
Yeah.
He adapted. Everyone else
And-
is going to copy his model now.
Texas A&M, Ohio State, Alabama have 10 to 100 times more money than Indiana has. They could have done it to even better.
Right. Saban
And they
said,
didn't.
right. He said in so many words when he retired, part of why he retired, and he said it in so many words, but basically the gist of it was a new system is in place with NIL, and they've had the portal for a while. Now with NIL, that he's made his mark. He doesn't want to learn a new system, and he thinks the NIL is bad for the sport. He left. And this is now Saban 2.0. That this is the next guy who's figured out how much do you want to bet everybody when you have a system that works. Everyone's going to be doing this. Now it's not going to be the hot offensive coordinator, the hot defensive coordinator of the moment. It's going to be who can build a team, who can recruit and get these people, and put good coordinators under it.
Well, I will say this. That
He doesn't call plays.
Well, that system has been in operation at the NFL level for decades.
Yeah, because head coaches don't call plays there either. So
every one of those NFL teams. Now the difference is there's no salary cap at the NIL level, right? There's no salary cap, so they can spend whatever the F they want to spend. At least NFL teams have a salary cap, but you all have the same pool of players. You know, Texas has more. Texas has probably 100 times more money than Indiana. So every player that's on Indiana's team, Texas could have purchased.
Well, apparently Indiana's got some deep pockets because apparently Mark Cuban's from there. They got some billionaires. Apparently, Indiana's got some deep pockets. I didn't know. They gave this guy $11 million. No, they don't have Texas money.
They don't have Texas money. They don't have Ohio State money. They don't have Notre Dame money.
The fact that A&M can't do this year in and year out, I know you're a Texas person, and there's a lot of Texas people that watch the podcast, so I apologize.
Yeah.
But the fact that freaking Texas schools can't do this year in and year out, but they just got a lesson on how it's done. It's like when the Oakland A's started playing money ball, but then the Red Sox and Dodgers perfected it.
Yeah.
Someone else is going to see this, and they're going to take it from Indiana.
Texas had 100 times the money and could have purchased every player on that team.
Right. That's okay. And really, who wants to go to Indiana over like University of Miami? If you ask any kid, you're like, I would rather go to Miami.
Well, what was it? Saban said on the pregame show, he goes, it's very rare you get those Southern boys to go up to a north state like that where it's cold.
I'm not trying to like cast dispersions at Indiana, but when you look at the roster, and I'm not casting dispersion because I was impressed with what they did because he adapted to the era. But look at how many of his players came from Indiana or even the surrounding states.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I didn't look at the roster.
Not even half. No, not even half. And of the starters, way less. I'm just, but hey,
I
that's
do know
fine.
the average size on that offensive line was 6'4".
And then he brought guys with him from JMU, where he came
Yeah.
from. He brought guys from JMU. Mendoza came from Cal, and he was from Miami. But
Well,
only
they wouldn't even
Cal
let
made
him
the
walk
entry.
on to Miami. Miami
Right,
wouldn't
no,
even let him
right.
walk on. Yeah.
Ooh, I know they're regretting that one. And did you see his Heisman speech?
No.
If you do nothing else this evening, and I'm telling whoever's watching the podcast, if y'all do nothing else this evening, watch Mendoza's Heisman acceptance speech. If you do nothing else, watch that. I promise you, you're gonna leave saying two things. One, that's a super motivating, touching story. And two, they need to put this kid on some campaign buttons and let him run for something. It's one of the very best I've heard.
The unfortunate thing is he's going to go to a team like the Raiders or the Browns, and
Yes, and that's going to be money for the Raiders because they got Mendoza going to the Raiders. That's
well, yeah, but then his career will be over. He'll end up with Derek Carr 3.0, getting the living shit kicked out of him because they can't protect
poor
him.
Derek Carr. He was a good quarterback too. It's poor Derek Carr.
Yeah. Well, we've been going for over an hour, man. Anything you want to? Any other topics you want to hit on before we?
So
sign off?
I do want to touch back on the Minnesota church, and I know I said some things earlier, and I alluded to. I have very strong feelings on the topic, and I think a place of worship is a sacred place,
right?
And there should be a common frame of understanding and respect. And the left, they were about that. That was their mantra. That's supposed to be their mantra. Imagine how they would feel if a bunch of MAGA supporters went into a mosque and did that. We would never do such a thing. No. Never do such a thing. But I said some things earlier that, in the heat of the moment, I get upset, and I would never get physical with a protester. But if you come in a church and make me fear something's going to happen to me, then I would have to defend myself. Absolutely. Yeah. But no, I would never be aggressive, but I do fear that there are other people out there that would definitely be that way.
Yeah, and they'll definitely be
emboldened. I worry that if this is not something they get a handle on, I just have a terrible feeling that there's going to be uprisings of these protests going into churches. That's something that me and my fiance have been talking about, that this is going to be a very common thing now. And it started with this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, breaks my heart.
Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't escalate beyond what it's done. I definitely think, there needs to be some discussions. And I hate to call them leaders because our elected are not leaders. They're seen that way, but they're not. But they need to tamp out some of the rhetoric, and they need to get it back down under control. They won't. Right. Or if they do, it'll only be for a day or two, and then something else will happen, and then it'll be right back where it was. But they need to. They need to. So, well, anything else?
Nope. Just thanks for having me on, and as always, be on talking to Rob the Unpaid on Stu and the Nunn.
All right. Well, make sure you visit our sponsors, Marvita, Alpha Elite Performance, Bowhammer.com. Grill your ass off. We have a code for grillyourassoff.com. Some of the best spices out there. You get 15% off using that code. And Gear for Grunts. Make sure you go get your Gear for Grunts t-shirts and your ramp devices. So everybody have a good evening. Thank you for spending your time with us, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.